Oh, another day, another $6.7 million. Hey everybody, am I up? Yeah, looks like I'm finally up here. Dun-dum. Check, mic, check. Yeah, I think we're up this time. How's everybody doing today on this fine Monday? This is the Monday edition of the Mike Meyers Ask Mike Anything. The goal of this live stream is to help people with questions and issues and topics that are attributable to CompTIA A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus certifications in particular, although we can go way outside of that on an as-needed basis. Welcome aboard, everybody. Today is an interesting day. Today is going to be day 2 of 3 days. We're going to be doing going through virtual machines. And today we're going to be looking at VMware Workstation Player. Now, last week we did Hyper-V, and Hyper-V really is a Type 1 hypervisor, but it sure acts like a Type 2 hypervisor, so I'm going to kind of stick with that. Today we're going to be doing VMware, and then next week we're going to be doing VirtualBox. So it's going to be a direct head-to-head comparison of the 3 easily most popular Type 2 hypervisors that are out there. Now keep in mind, the goal of this series is to allow us to compare and contrast Type 2 hypervisors to achieve 2 goals. Number 1, understand virtual machines and how virtual machines work. This is a big topic on a number of CompTIA certifications, and we definitely... I did start early. Dave, I saw it said 1:05 and I thought it was early. Oh well. So hey, we started a little early today. It's all good. And then the second thing is that using virtual machines, we can get a lot of really important stuff done in terms of learning about things like, for example, Linux. This is fascinating. Dave Rush, just so you know, all of my systems said it was 2 o'clock. And now suddenly I've come online and Dave Rush, they've all dropped back to like 1:50. So craziness. Sorry I'm a little on the early side today, guys. But I don't think it'll hurt anything. So anyway, that's what the 2 goals are as we look at these different virtual machines. My goal and my hope is by next Monday, we can pick a clear winner. Because I'm going to tell you, it's not obvious to me at this point in the game. Hyper-V came through with some really interesting features. Was short on a few. VMware really surprised me. We might as well go ahead and talk about this now. VMware, for years, I'd always been told that there were 2 versions of VMware Type 2 hypervisor. There was VMware Player, which basically just allowed you to play pre-made virtual machines. And then there was the classic VMware Workstation, which allowed you to do basically the stuff you'd expect from a Type 2 hypervisor, being able to create your own basic network manipulation, stuff like that. Okay, well, that's not exactly true. So what we have now is there are 2 versions of VMware. There's VMware Workstation Player, and I'm using version 17, that's the current version. There's a VMware Workstation 17 Player, and if you don't believe me, people get confused. Here, let me just put this up on the screen, and you can see clear as day, even VMware themselves call it, there we go. Welcome to VMware Workstation 17 Player, so right from the horse's mouth. And then there's VMware Workstation 17, currently 17 Pro. Back in the old days, Player was free, but you could only basically play other people's pre-made virtual machines, whereas Workstation was the one we tended to use, but it cost you a couple of $100. When I first started doing research on this like 3 weeks ago, so I'm over on the VMware site and it said very clearly that the Player is $159 and then the Pro version is $199. So one more time, they're both VMware Workstation. One is the Player version, one is the Pro version. So I thought to myself, well, heck, I mean, if I've got to pay for a hypervisor, which I don't like doing for the record, but if I'm going to have to pay for a hypervisor, we'll just go ahead and spend the extra $40 and go ahead and get Pro. So I want to do a compare and contrast between the two. So I said, okay, no, wait. Let's go ahead and download Player first. And as I'm downloading it, I actually took the time to start reading the licensing agreement. And this is really, really important, people. VMware Workstation Player is free for personal use. So that's big. For me, that's really big. That brought it from down here to up here really fast. I hope nobody minds if I like free things whenever I could possibly get them. So that was exciting to me. But as I was reading through the differences between VMware Player versus VMware Pro, one of the things that bothered me, it said VMware Pro allows you to make more interesting network interconnections. And I was like, well, because a big part, remember there's two reasons we're doing this. Number one, we want to understand virtual machines. And number two, we want to use it as a tool to understand a lot of other things. And one of the big things I always do with virtual machines is like if I want to start learning about Active Directory, for example, I'm going to go ahead and spin up some virtual machines, put one of them as a server and keep them isolated so they're not messing with my main network. So things like that is how it works. No, Andre, all that happened today, bud, is for some reason neither of my clocks updated. And I guess my clocks were getting a little bit ahead. I don't know. And so I thought it was 1:59:45 local time. And as soon as I get on, suddenly the time servers updated, and then I was 10 minutes early. So yeah, it happens. So anyway, so I started playing with Player, and a couple of things came to mind. Number one, obviously it's free is a big deal. Number two, you have a very robust and granular ability to make your own virtual machines. You don't have to just play other people's virtual machines. Sorry about the cough. And number three, and this was a biggie, the network configuration features in Player are fine. They're great for 99.99% of anything anybody want to do. They are fine for working within the scope of, like, if you want to set up some virtual machines, set up a Windows server and 2 or 3 Windows Pro, Windows 10 or Windows 11 Pro systems and just have them talk to each other, it can handle that just fine. Bottom line is, VMware is now gone from what was going to be one of the lower ones to it's pretty doggone impressive, guys, to say the least. And it's free. The download was simple. I didn't have to fill in a bunch of forms just to get to the executable. It was a very clean install. It worked beautifully. No registration required, no nothing like that. So let's go ahead and get started. And let's take a look at, and the only thing we're going to look at today is Player. I have no interest in Pro. I did play with Pro a little bit, and it did have some interesting features which were completely outside of the two things that I need to want to make hypervisors work and understand other features that having your own virtual machine can do. So all we're doing today, kids, is Player. So let's go ahead and take a look. So we start off with, now that I've installed VMware Workstation Player, and I've got one virtual machine already made. And it wants me to upgrade to Workstation Pro, of course, for a low price of $199. Anyway, let's go ahead and play with this. So I'm going to create a new virtual machine. Now, one of the things that I really disliked about Hyper-V is that when you're setting up a virtual machine, how much RAM do you put in the virtual machine? How much hard drive space do you need? Yeah, I know I need a network card. Yeah, I know I need a keyboard and mouse, but RAM and storage, because on a lot of these systems, this is not the easiest thing to readjust once it's made. RAM's usually fairly easy to readjust. You can go into the settings on a created virtual machine and add a little RAM, usually through some kind of slider. In fact, I would say with Hyper-V, VMware, and VirtualBox, they all have some kind of slider for your memory. But the drive space, sometimes you actually have to make a secondary virtual drive because once they hit you set a size for them, they can't change. Now, I need to be careful here. So let's say you make a 100 gigabyte virtual drive, which is a pretty big drive. Keep in mind, 100 gigabyte may sound tiny to you. You're used to a 3 terabyte or a 6 terabyte, but you got to remember, in a virtual machine, the only thing we're installing is just the operating system and maybe an application or two. It's not a full-blown system. I'm not going to be running my gaming cert. Maybe I could, but there's a lot more flexibility, but it's actually smaller than that. So if that 100 gigabyte drive, that's going to manifest as a single file. And that file is going to be far smaller than 100 gig. It's usually just about the size of the actual stored data. So if you've only copied, say, 22 gigabytes onto that 100 gigabyte virtual drive, it's only going to be about 22 gigabytes plus a little overhead. All right. Anyway, so let's get back and take a look at this. So first of all, it's going to say, where do you want me to install from? So I could do a image, which is normally what I want to do. And I can browse around here. And let's see, so I've got a Windows. I've just downloaded this one. This is Windows 11. So these are just ISO files. Or if I want to, and this happens all the time, I'll just say I will install the operating system later. All right. It's interesting that VMware does this first. A lot of times this is something you do later in the install. VirtualBox does it just about last, to be honest with you. But anyway, we'll go ahead and march through here. And you want to give it some name. And this is also kind of nice. Unlike Hyper-V, which has no clue how to name your virtual machines, it will at least try to look at like some of the file name and come up with a name for it. So that's handy. The guest operating system requires an encrypted trusted platform module to operate. So this requires TPM, which is kind of cool. So usually what I'm going to do is only the files needed to support a TPM are encrypted. Everything else I'm going to leave open, and I will put in some password. Oh, I always forget that. Sorry, it needs a complicated password. There we go. Okay, and now here it's asking for the disk size. It says 64 gigs, which to me is a little small for a Windows system, so I'm going to push that to 100 gigs. And again, it's not actually going to take 100 gigs of hard drive space, folks. It's going to take a lot less than that. And if I go a little bit past 100 gigs, it's not going to hurt a darn thing. All right. Split virtual disk into multiple files. Now, this is something I've only seen on VMware. If the virtual machine gets really big, it'll start splitting it into files. It still manifests as a single drive or whatever your virtualized partitions are. But the nice part is it makes it easier to copy. That's it. And it looks at all this stuff. Is everybody happy? If we want to, we can customize the hardware. So let's take a look at that. Yep, yet again another slider. The network adapter is actually kind of important here too. So let's take a close look at this. Number one, bridged. With a bridged, it's basically copying off of the hard drive itself, off the network card itself. So if your host system is getting a 192.168.4 address, that virtual machine that's bridged is going to be talking to the same DHCP server. It's also going to get a 192.168.4 address. Okay? So let's go down through here a little bit. The next one is NAT. With NAT, what's happening here, it doesn't really say this, but it actually does a little virtualized DHCP server, and it starts with a 10 dot address. That one, using NAT is really important, in particular, if you want to have your own little small virtualized network, but you still want a connection out to the internet. So having a NATed network is nice because, number one, you basically have a virtualized firewall in there with DHCP and NAT. So it separates your little network from the rest of the world, but it still allows your little network to get onto the internet. And that can be very interesting for a lot of stuff. I mean, to me, if I'm installing an operating system, if I can't get on the internet, I have not installed the operating system. And I use virtual machines as my primary way to learn about Linux more than anything else. Most of the time, if people have desktops or laptops today. It's almost certainly going to be running Windows, to a smaller degree Mac. And so Linux is always that third man, that odd man out operating system. And I don't want to wipe out Windows to run Linux, nor do I want to run a live CD, because I actually want to copy files to a drive and make partitions and stuff like that. So using a virtual machine is absolutely the best way there is to learn Linux. And so that's very important to me. But I want to be able to get onto the internet as well. All right, but there's a couple more options. So host only. This is a private network, which the host computer is going to be on, but it doesn't get onto the network. Otherwise, you can put up a special virtualized network, and you can actually set up your own little LAN segment. So this is like a VLAN right here. And then this is, if you want to make different types of configurations, you can. When I heard that VMware Workstation Player did not have the ability to customize networking, that kind of killed it for me. I was getting ready to drop $199 on Workstation Pro, because it's important for me to be able to have a little bridge network, or a little NATed network, or a little private network. You know, whatever I needed when I'm playing with and learning about computers. This is the real big value add for using your little type 2 hypervisor, is the way you can play with this stuff. So much fun, so much power. And so when I heard that it didn't do it, I really wasn't even going to mess with Player. Well, it does it. Now, can I configure the actual NATed network ID range in Player? No. I would need Workstation to do that. You know, there's a couple of little things like that that you really need Workstation for. I'm sorry, Workstation Pro. Workstation Pro is a great product, but it is just not needed for what we need to do with virtual machines. Okay? So anyway, going back to this guy. One thing I don't want to do, I could start this installation, but then I'm going to do bridged. And that's going to run for a while. So I've been really, really happy with VMware Player, and I love the price. It has a couple of other features. I want to show these to you. See if I can get this to do what I want it to do. I always get in trouble when I take a different route from what I was thinking of. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look one more time. This guy's just going to keep running for a while, so we're going to let him go. What I want to do this time is take a look at a actually pre-running, pre-installed system. And hopefully, because in practice it didn't take that long for it to come up. So we're going to stare at this for a minute. One of the things that really disappointed me about Hyper-V was that it was really fixed to the resolution of whatever I had configured that virtual machine to be. And that can be frustrating, because a lot of times, especially if you got a big monitor, 4K, 5K monitor, it's kind of nice to be able to put lots of your virtual machines on one monitor, or if you got splits, you can do that too. It doesn't affect anything. But I like to be able to change the size depending on what I'm looking at on the virtual machine. And VirtualBox has the ability to do that, and so does VMware, which is no great surprise. Wrong mouse. All right, so if I grab this, so you can see I've got here a standard Ubuntu installation, nothing terribly exciting here. But what I want you to do is watch this. So as I make it bigger, it automatically changes the resolution within the virtual machine. Now, you might say to yourself, Mike, why is that important? Well, it's important. Trust me, when I tell you it's important, it's great. Also, it can easily move back and forth from within the virtual machine out of it. You can also, there's different hotkeys you can use. Like with VMware, it's Control-Alt by default. Those are all programmable. But it does a real nice job. And I've been real pleased with it. The one thing you got to be careful about is hitting Control-Alt-Delete, because if you hit Control-Alt-Delete, it's going to send a Control-Alt-Delete to your host operating system. So all VMs have some way to send a Control-Alt-Delete. I'm going to cancel that. So that's actually really important. So I'm real happy with VMware Player. Number one, good networking support. Number two, scalability for resolution. And number three, it's free. Good Lord, it's pretty amazing. What's going to be interesting, next week I'm going to do VirtualBox, and I'm probably going to have to do a toe-to-toe comparison of Oracle's VirtualBox versus VMware's VMware 17 Player. And I'm not sure who's going to win. They're both very powerful. I'm super familiar with VirtualBox, but I'm going to keep playing with the VMware a little bit more, and we'll see how that goes. So keep in mind, next Monday, we're going to be doing VirtualBox, and we will probably do a close as we've covered those three. I know everybody wants me to do Macs, but guys, I'm just not a Mac person. I could get a Mac, but it's hard. It's hard. I don't want to. So if somebody really yells at me, you could probably talk me into it. All right, so I'm going to scroll up and see what kind of questions we have here. JCTV, what's the pass rate on the CompTIA A+ Exam 1? Nobody knows for sure. The data that I have on that is pretty dated, to be honest with you. But I have heard in the past, and this information is more than 30 years old, more than 10 years old. And that was the nationwide pass rate for the CompTIA A+. Now, it's not Exam 1 or Exam 2. There is no data like that. CompTIA will not give this data. But for just passing the A+ on the first try was somewhere between 30 to 40%. So that always made us proud at Total Seminars, because the people who went through our program, we were double that rate. We have not done a recent analysis, to be honest with you. But I'll tell you one thing. One thing about nerds is they don't have any problem at all yelling at me when I do something bad. There, no problem. Mike, you ruined my... And it's... And you get people like that. But I get it extremely rarely, a few a year. And I will put that against the thousands of thank yous I get every year. But I kind of use that as a gauge in terms of pass rate. No news is good news. So we'll go with that. Greg Wheat, saw my pickle Rick. Excellent. Important technology reference there, Greg Wheat. Kylie Powder, we started early because my clocks were off. Hey, Sammy, good to see you, man. Maven, hello, folks. What time does the... No, it starts at 2 p.m. Central. Sorry, guys. That one's on me. Oh, secret code, secret message for Toluit. I am in Borean Tundra. My little hunter is doing great. Just made his password, Timmy1234. Nope. Electric Juice. Hey, Mike, passed A+, 1101 a few days ago after watching your Udemy course. Big round of applause to you. Well done, Electric Juice. Kenneth, have I ever tried a Citrix hypervisor? I have not. To me, Citrix has always been remote control, remote terminal software. Is it free? That's going to be the question. Citrix. I'm telling you, there is a temptation for me to include cloud. There's a lot of these public clouds have methodologies where you can spin up a certain number of systems for free. You got to give them a credit card, but they will not charge the credit card unless you do something. And it's not like you do something and accidentally get charged $1,000 a day. They're actually very clear. In particular, Amazon is very clear that you're about to start paying money. And it's like, should I include that? I have wondered about this for a while. So Citrix has something just called hypervisor. Zen, Citrix Zen, it's a type 1. Yeah, so we don't actually do type 1s in this particular study. Remember, the whole goal here of talking about hypervisors is I want to have people, this is for you and me, okay? So we already have a Windows system or something laying around, got hopefully a desktop still or at least a laptop, and you want to learn about virtual machines. But I don't want to use a type 1 hypervisor, which is going to wipe out your Windows or Linux or whatever you have and replace it with this other thing. Keep in mind, when you set up a type 1 hypervisor, you don't actually, once you've set up the system, you make it headless. You take the monitor and the keyboard and everything off of it, and then you have another computer or a few computers that are in your network which actually access the virtual machines and either run them through a terminal or in some cases actually bring the entire file locally. It's really up to you. So type 1 hypervisors aren't a good deal to cover the two things I want to learn. Number one, what is a virtual machine and what can I do with it? You know, like tweaking the hardware, you know, tweaking the networking, you know, can I get it to support a USB thumb drive, you know? So if I plug a thumb drive into my host machine, I don't want my host machine to use it. I want virtual machine number 3 to use it. You know, stuff like that. The second thing I like virtual machines is I need to have a tool to learn about other operating systems. In particular, Linux, which for me is almost always going to be Ubuntu. And then number 2, some kind of hairy networking, which usually means a Windows Active Directory. And setting up your own Type 2 hypervisor at home, assuming you got enough RAM, is a great way to take one computer. I mean, how often do you play with your desktop anymore other than game, right? It's a great tool. So those are the only 2 things I'm thinking about. So things like this Citrix Zen, which may be a very powerful hypervisor, not of great interest to me. So I'm going to leave it like that. Okay. But no, I like hearing about other alternatives. Catherine, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Catherine. Steve Beckham. Quick CompTIA question. Maybe someone in here can answer. Say I get the A+, and then in 6 months get the Network Plus. Does the A+ now expire at the same time as the Network? No, they're completely different certifications. All certifications, pretty much all IT certifications these days last 3 years. So if you take the A+, it's good for 3 years. So if you go take, you know, there's like over 2,000 IT certifications now. Just because you've taken something else, that one's still good, man. Just because you took algebra, your algebra doesn't disappear if you take trigonometry or whatever. How's that for a crappy analogy? All right. But no, Steve, they're all good. Willie Diesel, 22. I purchased your Udemy CompTIA Plus. I love it. So far. Boy, that exclamation point looked like a T to me. Quick question. What's the best way to start working in tech with no experience? Willie, go for the entry-level jobs. There's tons of them out there. There's 4 ways to get in IT. Number 1, go for a 4-year degree, okay? Get a computer science degree or an engineering degree, get a good bachelor's degree. If you can do that, that is always your best option, every time. This is where upper management comes from. Without a 4-year degree, the chances of you becoming upper management in anything other than your own entrepreneurial endeavors is just about zero. Number 2, go for an associate's degree, as we call them here in the States, a 2-year degree, or a good private IT school, tech school. As long as these schools have great placement programs, I would not even think about going to any school that didn't have a placement program, because that's important. Here in Texas, many of our community colleges have outstanding placement programs and work aggressively with the industry to get you a job the moment you graduate. So to me, that's very, very important. The third thing you can do, and it sounds like kind of the way you're pointing, is to go self-taught, pick up a couple of entry-level certifications like CompTIA, A+, Net+, or maybe even Security Plus, and go look for jobs. I'm going to tell you that that is the cheapest, but also the hardest way to get work. If you have like let's say you have a Security Plus, which is pretty hot right now, you're going to put out at least 200 resumes before you find somebody. Most of these entry-level jobs are going to be pretty entry-level, and you're going to be working, the midnight till 8 in the morning shifts. You're going to be doing help desk kind of stuff, but that's how you start. Go on LinkedIn and type in entry-level, and you're going to find all of these jobs. And no, none of them are going to pay that well. But the idea is that you stay in that job for 6 months. And in that same time, you've gone and pursued other certifications. You've been doing some study on your own. Maybe I think I like Cisco routers. Maybe I think I like wireless networking. Maybe I think I like Windows administration. See where I'm coming from? And you start looking and understanding where you want to go. This is the important thing about certifications. Certifications are only for your next job. There's some employers, in order here you got to be A+ certified. That's fine, but certifications are something you do on nights and weekends while you're gainfully employed to help yourself move up the ladder. The fourth thing you can do, and let me put a caveat in here, I am an investor in this company, is you can look up a boot camp. There's lots of boot camps out there. I am a part owner in a boot camp called CyberNow Labs. So just check out cybernowlabs.com. CyberNow Labs has a 20-week program, and they are very, very good at getting people work in a very specific place as a SOC, or Security Operations Center analyst. It's a big in-demand job right now. They're having a hard time filling it, and CyberNow Labs does a great job of getting people into that work. Maybe not even 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, we had a recent graduate, Michael Liebert, came on, 64 years old, no college degree, no IT experience, just a nice guy who studied hard. He went through the CyberNow Labs program, he graduated, and literally had a job the next day. He humped it. If you get a chance, you should watch that video. If you have any interest at all, it's right here on the Total Seminars channel. Michael Liebert, he's a great guy, and he's a heck of a story too. This is the other thing that always surprises me when people are like, I want to get in IT. Okay, great. Well, I never, I have to throw away all of my other experience. Michael Liebert was a dealer in Vegas, but he kind of angled that experience. He's talked to people, could connect and stuff like that, and it helped him out. 64 years old, no college degree, 0 IT experience. So judge for yourself what you think about something like that. I think it's pretty impressive. He also has an outrageous work ethic. So that helped. A couple of things, guys. Do keep in mind that this coming weekend is the time change. Thank you for reminding me, Dave. We spring forward, so hopefully change your clocks. Most of my clocks change themselves, except for the ones I actually look at. I've got these old alarm clocks, the ones that project the time up onto the ceiling because I'm old and I want to be able to see what time it is. And it's actually very convenient, but they don't adjust. The ones on my microwave don't adjust. On my oven, I've got a big digital oven. That doesn't adjust. So, yeah. Be sure to adjust your non-automatically adjusting clocks. So, Willie, I hope that answered your question and then some, man. All right, so both Dave and Jared are telling me that if you pass Network Plus, your A Plus gets an updated expiration date. I haven't heard this, so that's interesting. Hi, Mike. How can we get a discount voucher for CompTIA A Plus? This is from OMHPOS. Just head over to my website, www.totalsem, TotalSem.com. Head over to the merchant area and we have discount vouchers there for you. Chandler Freeman, I thought you said at some point that IPv6 means you can't have a DNS server behind a firewall. Did I understand that correctly? No, I didn't say that. Therefore, there was nothing for you to misunderstand. You absolutely can have a DNS. IPv6 is just changing the phone numbers, guys. The only really exciting thing that IPv6 does is it really makes NAT unnecessary. That's its big thing, more than anything else. Other than that, it just makes extra phone numbers, extra numbers for your phone. That's it. There's some aggregation stuff. I don't want to get into that right now. But no, IPv6, you can put DNS servers anywhere you want. Everything still works fine, you know. The only thing you got to remember is you put a DNS server behind a firewall, make sure that, number one, that 69, oh, I forgot, what's the port number for DNS? Make sure that that's open. It usually is for outbound. And also remember to give your DNS server either root hints or give it a forwarder address. Now you can absolutely, of course you can, heck, pretty much every DNS server on earth is behind a firewall somewhere and they're all running IPv6 these days. You know, that was the first part of the internet to get fully IPv6'd together was the DNS servers. Siegfried's on? I didn't see him. Siegfried, I owe you a phone call. I got your number. I'm going to give you a holler. Beb, accountant learning to work in cybersecurity. In UK, it's hard to get some hands-on experience without knowing people. Beb, I don't have a lot of answers about Europe. I do know that CyberNow Labs has a program in Germany with a very high passing rate. I also can tell you that anytime you're trying to get any kind of job at the entry level, you have to push harder. And that's just how it is. Dave Rush, does the clock in my Jaguar auto adjust? Probably. Oh, I broke my Jaguar. I did. I caught a piece of trim, a little bit of trim, and I opened the door and it caught on my belt and I bent it out. Oh my God. I don't even want to guess what it's going to cost me. $8 trillion. 53. Thank you, David. Tom Pinkerton. 53. I forgot. Okay, guys, so as always, we start at 10 till 2. No, I'm kidding. We started early today. But, you know, we go until the questions run out. It seems that things are quieted down a little bit. So we're probably going to be wrapping up. Do keep in mind, guys, if you're at all interested in these boot camps, I am an investor in that, okay? So total transparency. But do check out, Dave Rush put into the chat window the address for our next info session, which is tomorrow. That's March 7th. It's 7 p.m. Eastern time. Just sign up for it, guys. If you're at all interested, just check one out. They run for about an hour. What's going to be interesting is our CEO, Gabe, is getting married. So Hassan, one of the original CyberNow Labs founders, is actually going to be running these. And Hassan is one very, very smart guy. Also, do keep in mind, if you ever, please connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. That's Dave Rush has my connections for me for LinkedIn. Like Mike said, do what you're passionate about and you won't work another day. It's absolutely true. People ask me when I'm going to retire. I said, I retired 28 years ago. Derek Lopez, I want to purchase your A+ class. What's the most updated one for March 2023? Okay, so David, is it David? Derek, sorry. So Derek, we don't talk about dates. When you're talking about CompTIA exams, you talk about the numbers. So right now, the CompTIA exam can go 1101 and the 220 1102. Got it? So any of my, keep in mind, I've got a lot of outlets, you know, Udemy, LinkedIn, Total Seminars, lots of other places as well. And my videos are translated in different languages. Check out next to you. Tu hear me, habla español. Yo tengo un mustacho muy guapo. So don't look at dates. They're never going to be right. Only look at the exam numbers. Those exam numbers last for about 3 years every time. There you go. Andre, thanks for helping out with that. All right, guys. Looks like we're going to go ahead and wrap up today. I'm going to have some fun. I may still play with the VMware Workstation just to see if there's anything within the networking functions. I mean, there is a bit of an argument where I could actually change network IDs for individual networks, but I could already do that with VirtualBox. So, but I'll probably go ahead and play with it anyway. I probably won't show you guys because I won't be too impressed. But then we're going to do that on, so on Monday, we're going to do VirtualBox. Then we're going to go through and do a direct comparison of Hyper-V versus VirtualBox versus VMware. I'm going to declare a winner and help you guys out going forward. The cool part is of those three, they're all free. So, whew, that really makes some serious challenges. Dave, did I cover all the important things? I think I did. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. This Wednesday, it's going to be a general question and answer kind of thing. Although we are going to be switching this. It is going to move. Eventually, I'm going to get to the point where Wednesdays will eventually become pre-recorded. And we'll just have presentations on different products. And we're going to go down to once a week where I'm live. That doesn't mean the Wednesdays aren't going to be fascinating. I promise you they are. But that's kind of the goal as we start heading that direction. So anyway, I am out of here. Hey, Jared Graham, good to see you, man. Guys, I'm going to take off. I will see you guys again on Wednesday. Remember, that's Wednesday evening. That is 7 p.m. Central time here in Houston, Texas. And until then, I'm out of here. This is your little Uncle Mike saying bye-bye. I'll see you guys on Wednesday.